What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. I thought in today's video I would do another beat making tutorial video of producing in the indie alternative and synth pop genre, more talking about a Lany style production. Now the reason I wanted to do this again on the channel is because this for me is how I learned how to produce music a long time ago, through watching other people making productions and learning that way. I am the sort of person, I'm not very academic, I've always believed in learning something through visually seeing and then trying to replicate. So I hope this video helps anyone watching this in any way at all. This beat was very simply made, so I wanted to show you it and do a run through because there's Logic stock plugins which are used with this, as well as a couple other things. But again, I'm hoping some of the things I did in this video and doing a run through will maybe help you guys out in any way if you want to produce something in this sort of genre. So let's get in and have a look at this production. Okay, so what we're looking at now is the production that I did in Logic Pro X, and I'm going to do a run through. What's very handy is the way this is laid out. This is the order in which I added instrumentation. So the first thing I did to make this sort of beat was I referenced, and this is the most important part of making any production, is getting some sort of a reference track to go off, because it's a really easy way to be inspired and prevent writer's block in any way, and that includes for making productions. So I listened to I Quit Drinking by Lany, which had I think it was a duet with another artist, but the main thing that I was listening for was the type of beat. And the thing I loved about it is it started with this simple piano. So the first thing I added was, again, just some piano chords. This is in the key of C major, the BPM's 95, very similar to the song referenced, and this is what I played in, using Kontact's grand piano. Just making sure I vary up the chords so it's not repetitive and it's different the two times around. Go, just a few added little hammer-on notes there. Again, like the most important thing, if you're gonna just do what I do and you loop 4-chord song, you got to make sure that you're varying up. Otherwise, you know, the listener may get bored if it's just the same repetition. But if you have an ever-changing chord pattern, then again it just adds a little more to the development of the song. So with the piano in, the next thing I wanted to add was the drums, and I've layered 3 different drum textures here, and I've been using the Ultra Beat by Logic, and I created my own beat. I love the load down dub preset drum kit that's in there, so I used the drums from there, and I laid down this little beat on top of it to get started. Just kick, snare and hi-hat pounds slightly to the left. And I love doing it this way because I feel like you can already start to create a sense of the feel and the rhythm of the song if you do the drums either first or second, because a percussion is one of the most important parts, I think, of a song like this, because it really adds the feel, the bounce, and sort of like, again, like helps massively the development of the song, whether you're adding in or taking out here. So one thing I want to do is, because I wanted the drums to really be layered and have development itself, so there's 3 different types of percussion going on here. So then I also created these 2 using the same drum bank. And this one as well. There's loads of mix of things. And when you put them all together, you get this really nice bouncy drum kit. Now, normally I would separate the hi-hats from the kick and snare to mix them, but again, I just love this preset so much in Ultra Beat that I actually decided just to leave it in the same MIDI track. And the reason why I've separated all these drum parts is because, again, you can use separation to add development to a song. If you're taking stuff in and adding it, then there's always something getting added every 4 bars, and that's one of the biggest things I love to do in productions, is to add something every 4 bars, just to keep the listener engaged and to keep the instrumental sounding interesting. Now, the next thing that I need to do is add what I call like the atmosphere and the emotion to the song, and I always love to use pads, and especially like the sort of track that this is, and again, like feeling more into the synth pop and into the alternative pop. One thing I really associate with Lauv and Lany and any sort of artist like that is a really warm pad. So again, I wanted to create some sort of melodic pad to overlay the piano, and I came up with this. Now this sound, if you're wondering what it is, it's from the Mini V3, which is from Arturia. This is actually software that I got free with the keyboard, which I did a review of in a different video if you want to check that out and find out more about that software. But again, this is just a preset sound. I absolutely loved it, and I think this goes really well with the piano. If you just listen to this. Feels like a nice introduction, hence why I put these two at the start. And then I wanted to layer that. I wanted something else, something a little bit more delicate, a little bit more high, so we can really play with the octave. So I added this melodic bell synth, which was in Contact, I believe. Yeah, it was just a Mark I electric piano. Played it really high up the octaves and added a tremolo to create lovely movement and start to create a stereo spread, and the rum, which is, by the way, one of my favorite reverb plugins ever, and it's by Native Instruments as well. And this is what we get. Here I'm just playing random chords on the scale, because again, like, I want it to be sort of sporadic. I want it to be random because I feel like that just adds to the sort of space that I'm trying to create and feeling of the song. So we put that all together. Already we have a vibe. I'd associate that as being like a verse. Then the next thing that I wanted to do was add low end to the track. So with this kind of genre of music, there is a sub bass which I'll show you first, which I love to add. It's the 70s, I think 70s classic synth bass by Alchemy. It's the reason I got it 5-star. I use it so much. I rolled off all the cut off and the drive so that it was a lot more subby. Didn't have any of that distorted drive to it at all, so it's more clean. And this by itself, again, that's just a simple bass synth. And on top of that, I also layered a more synthetic analog bass to cover the more high end of the bass. Because even though the bass, you went to focus on the low end, I love to have a little bit of high end from the bass as well. So then put that in, all of a sudden the song sounds like it's got a lot more depth from like a frequency point of view. Now, one of the things that I want to do, and it's very interesting here, now, because again, one thing you don't want to, like, you really want to be careful of is not to be too repetitive in your productions. So I mixed up the bass line. So the first time around, the bass goes up, and then the second time it goes down. And I believe I did it on this one. Yeah, so on this one, I played around a little bit more of the octaves on the bass, making it end lower the second time, just to create more of a sense of like a natural and a finish every time like the bass goes round into a section for the chorus. And it just keeps it changed up just the second time round because there's 2 repeats in here, so I don't want it to be exactly the same both times. It just makes it a little bit more interesting to listen to. Now the last thing, and this is the one thing that I love to do, is actually use MIDI guitars because you can get them to sound so clean. Now this is just Logic. If I get up the window, I believe it's the guitar, it's the British Stack Synth Lead, and I use 2 of these using 2 different melodies. So this is the first melody that I decided to play. I mean, as far as synth guitar goes, it doesn't sound too bad. I add the reverb because it kind of tries to mask a little bit of the MIDI quality to it. And then this is the second melody that I played over top because I love counter melodies when it comes to guitars. Again, he's playing something a bit more, spontaneous. And if you put the 2 together, I love and intentionally kept in some notes which sound like they clash because I feel like it adds a little bit more emotion to a song. Like, these are quite far back in the mix compared to other things, but I feel like them sort of like clashing notes close together, I just think, again, adds a little bit more emotion, makes the production sound a little bit more interesting, because that's what you want to create from production. You don't just want to make something that sounds like very sort of methodical. Sometimes it's good to have these sort of humanistic qualities to a track, so that's why I added them in. So let's see what this sounds like. The last thing that this is missing is the risers. And one thing that's really easy to do, and again, this production didn't take me long to make. I'm not even gonna lie, this took me 20 minutes to do. Maybe maybe half an hour, I'd say. I didn't time myself. And the last thing I wanted to do is I took a crash from Splice, one of my favorite crashes to use in this genre. It's just got a nice long release to it. I added another reverb on top of it, I believe. I didn't actually this time. No, I didn't add anything. So yeah, this is clean straight out of the sample from Splice. And then I also reversed it to create a riser into it itself. There's a little bit of a jump there, but I don't mind it because you can't really notice it when you're playing. But again, just adding this will play from here. You can tell the difference that this makes. Let's just listen first with and without the crash. And then this is with the riser in. It feels like the sections so much more naturally flows into itself. And then again, this is the production, and then all I had to do to finish this production off was just to play around with putting things in different places. As you can see here, like things get added throughout the verse to create a sense of a build. And the same in the verse. Like again, kept it simple because when I make a type beat, I don't want to overcomplicate it, because you got to remember that vocals are going to be recorded on top, and sometimes putting too much in can sort of make you lose direction of where the actual song will actually end up going rather than the production. So I like to keep it simple, mainly like because again, as I said, it makes it easier for the artist. And just this little pre-section here again, just like because I just love to strip things back in a bridge. And I just thought this worked really well together. Again, because you create these different drum layers, you can drop them in at different points. And it also saves you so much time when you're making a production. The reason this was so quick to make is because I just made all the different ideas and I just sort of then just dragged them in afterwards. Now, don't get me wrong, would I say this is a completely 100% finished production? No, because you've got to add vocals. And when you add vocals, you normally want to add more. But this is the perfect sort of ready to give to an artist sort of production, and like artists can start writing ideas over the top of it. And again, in terms of like the Lauv and Lany and the alternative indie and synth pop, like I tried to incorporate all of that into that, and this is what we came up with. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, hit that subscribe button, as it's the best way to support the channel. I will leave a link either side of here to see other production tutorials that I have done on this channel. But other than that, guys, keep making music, and I will see you in the next video.